It's not easy being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
Time to wake up, Sting.
Why do you always pull me first, bro? Come on.
Because you're handsome.
What's going on, man?
You're the internet sensation. Nobody likes me.
Yeah, what's going on, man? You doing okay tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you? Did you enjoy some college basketball?
I sure did, man. And
we got a lot to talk about today.
About the GOAT of all time retiring. That's going to be a big topic tonight.
And we got some Alabama news. We got some basketball news. We got an interview from the famous who we got an interview from?
Doug Gottlieb when we had him on the Stingray Show last week on Tide 100.9. And the Stingray Show is going to take over 3rd and 3 tonight.
Oh, you have to brag. I got Doug Gottlieb on my show. Yes, he got Doug Gottlieb on Tide 100. Hey, and he's letting us play here.
Hey, quick little tease for you guys, though. Former Alabama basketball player Erwin Dudley coming up on Thursday on Rolling with the Tide. That was confirmed right before we got on tonight.
Don't forget Matt Caldwell.
I was going to leave that to you.
Former Alabama wide receiver for the Crimson Tide. That's what we do here. So let's get to it. Stingray, well, you want to start off first? You want to start off with Tom Brady?
I do not. I actually want to start off the show with...
You want to start off with Tom Brady?
No, sir.
Let's start the show off. Let's start the show. Let's start. Let's off positive.
Okay.
Before we go to the negative.
Okay.
I'm still sad about that. Tom Brady says he's returning to Bay Buccaneers quarterback next season. I don't think this guy's ever going to retire because, quite frankly, he don't give a crap. He's dating models, he's marrying models, and he's playing football on Sundays. What could be the better life?
I got to be honest with you, man. I saw a meme the other day that pretty much summed it up perfectly. Tom Brady saw the gas prices and said, I'm unretiring.
Every time I go to that gas tank, I'm just cheering Brandon on. I've never in my life loved Brandon as much. I cheer Brandon on when I wake up in the morning. I cheer Brandon. I just go, Brandon, I love you, Brandon. Thank you for these gas prices. You're the man. That's just how I wake up in the morning. Sting, how you morning? Get off your phone. We're live. We're live. If you're not even like gonna sit here and be like, wow, we're gonna be entertaining people. How are we gonna do this live? Get off your phone. Tell your girlfriend.
I'm trying to share the show, bro.
Tell your girlfriend that daddy needs some time.
Okay. All right, so oh great.
I got something bad. Stingray told me about this. He says my bandwidth is bad, so I gotta take my screen off. Bring back the blinds. How am I now? It says 7 out of 10 for me, 8 out of 10. Spencer, how am I now? Am I good? About now. This is one hell of a time to be doing this. All right,
Anyway, Tom Brady,
Brady.
man, I tell you what, I just don't think he's ever going to retire like you said. And, I mean, this was going to be the year for the Atlanta Falcons until Calvin Ridley screwed up, man. That was, the Falcons cannot catch a break, and then all of a sudden Tom Brady goes, "Hey, I'm coming back, woohoo!" So now that takes them all the way back up to competitors and puts Atlanta back down in the bottom of the South.
So my say is more like a question. When is he going to retire? He's going to be 45, 46 years old. I mean, it's time to call it a day, That's like a grown man sitting there having kids at 50. It's like sooner or later, you should call it a day.
The only person that knows that is the guy who is unretiring. He is going to play as long as he wants to.
The thing they know about brain injuries now, you would think that somebody like Tom Brady would be smart enough to call it a career. I mean, he has everything in the world. Is the love for football that important? I mean, I love things too, but if it's going to hurt me.
Are you kidding me? If you barely touch the quarterback now, the referees throw out for a flag for an illegal hit. The quarterback play in the NFL is literally the safest position of them all. It's not like a running back or a wide receiver or, God forbid, a kick returner.
Tell that to Kurt Warner.
Well, he's not playing in today's game.
Yeah, watch his last play ever. Tell that to Brett Favre. His last play, I believe.
Dude, it all depends on your offensive line too. You got a good offensive line. You're not getting sacked.
One missed block can cost you your career. And Tom Brady's comfort in life. You have everything. Go ahead and call it a day. I'm just saying. Some people say you're just a bitter Falcons fan. It is what it is.
Yes,
but you know what? But I mean, come on. You do have everything that life has granted you with the luck and privilege of because of the skill of playing football. Now you just want to call it a day. I mean, now you just want to keep playing. I mean, it's time to call it a day. You're gonna get hurt.
It is.
But you know what? I'm not the one making millions and millions of dollars and winning Super Bowl. So who am I to talk? Yes. So let's go ahead and for the Tom Brady fans, he's here to stay for at least one more season. Now what's the next topic, Stingray?
Unfortunately. Yep, we had some unfortunate news that happened over the weekend. Wrestling legend, former WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall went in for a routine hip replacement surgery.
Whoa. First off, a hip replacement is never routine.
Okay. I'm just telling you like it is, man.
No, I mean a hip replacement is a hip replacement. That's not routine. You don't just, hey, today I'm going in for a hip replacement. My back hurts. No, he went in for a major surgery
and had 3 heart attacks and put him on life support, and his family decided not to leave him on life support and to take him off. And unfortunately, we lost a legend in not only WWE, WWF, but WCW in the faction of the NWO and the Wolfpack.
He also wrestled for AWA and TNA, or Total Nonstop Action. This hurts. You grew up watching them. I mean, most of my wrestling nostalgia came during the times Razor Ramon, Scott Hall was wrestling. Everybody knows how big of a wrestling fan I am. I love, I'm a big Hulkamaniac. 80s and 90s. You can keep putting your hand down. You wasn't alive during that time. You didn't see the explosion of Hulkamania. It went crazy. People, that was the first wrestler that was on Saturday Night Live, Sports Illustrated. He was the man. But Scott Hall was that wrestler that when Razor Ramon hit, everybody turned the channel and watched him. Yeah. Razor Ramon was the coolest wrestler in the history of wrestling at that time, besides Bret the Hitman Hart.
And let's not forget that the huge loss at Bash at the Beach in WCW for Bill Goldberg was actually done.
It was actually Whoa. It was Starrcade 1998.
Okay.
If you're gonna talk wrestling, you better get your facts right.
Okay.
I'm a wrestling encyclopedia up here. No, you wasn't.
Okay. Anyway, like I was saying, Scott Hall was the one who hit Goldberg with the stun gun before Kevin Nash hit his finishing move on Bill Goldberg.
That's true. Scott Hall did call it. The NWO was something special. That, for me being a big Hulk Hogan fan, I was always scared for Hogan to lose. And of course, during that time, Hogan lost all the damn time. Lost to Sting, lost to Goldberg, lost to everybody. But here's the thing about let's see what Spencer got to say. They sold out every stadium they showed up in back then. Yeah, he sold out. But I want to let all the young kids know this. My dad used to tell me all the time, the stuff you do to your body now is going to catch up to you later.
Yep.
And everybody who watches shoot interviews and listen to wrestling podcasts, what type of guy Scott Hall was. They say that he wasn't a very nice guy. And backstage, he was literally the bad guy. However, I didn't know him personally, so I don't judge. I always treat people the way they treat me. I never met him. So as for me personally, I'm going to say, it's a loss to the wrestling business, loss to the wrestling community. This is sad. I was a fan of his. However, a lot of people talk about stuff that he did backstage, stuff that he put in his body. Yes. It caught up to him. And, he could have lived another 20 years. But however, at the age of 63, he's no longer with us. And it catches up to you. I'm paying the price for some of the stuff I did to my body. And
we all have our demons, guys. It's not.
It's demons, but also know that whatever you do to your body at an early age is going to catch up to you. But hey, that Wolfpack was something cool. Razor Ramon was cool. I sad, man. I really wish this didn't happen. He was on the right track of cleaning himself up for 10 years now. For 10 years, he was doing DDP yoga and doing a lot of cool stuff, and he entered the Hall of Fame in 2014, I believe.
Yep.
And then 2020, entered the WWE Hall of Fame again. NWO. What?
Your internet is going in and out, bro.
Well,
you need to upgrade that internet, man.
Well, repeat what I said then.
I have no idea what you just said.
Oh, well, what I said was
it's better. It's better now. Keep going.
What part did you lose me?
Everything about the last thing.
Jesus
about
loves me.
No, I'm just talking about from where you went about Scott Hall and the NWO. Go from there.
Anyway, I was a fan of the NWO. I was a fan of Razor Ramon. And like I said, what you put in your body now, at the age, whatever age you are, you're going to pay for it later. If you drink a lot, if you smoke a lot, et cetera, you're going to pay for it later. So, my dad always told me that. I didn't listen. Mm-hmm. I'm paying the cost now. And, he was doing a lot better for 10 years now. He was sober. He cleaned his act up, and as Stingray said, one routine surgery, a major hip replacement, 3 heart attacks, and then when they took him off life support,
right,
he survived for 4, 5, 6 hours. And one thing that I want to mention, when you have to decide to take somebody off life support, that's tough, dude. Anybody that's had to do that for a loved one is tough. I had to make that decision, and it's not a fun decision to make. And one day everybody will have to make it, but condolences to Scott Hall. He will live on forever on the WWE network on Peacock. You can watch all the Razor Ramon you want, all the NWO you want, all the total nonstop action if you got the Impact Plus app. So with that said, God bless your soul, Razor Ramon, and I will be seeing you on my TV real soon. Matter of fact, after this show, I'm gonna watch some Razor Ramon, some Scott Hall NWO for life.
Okay, Joey.
Wow, I just did that, and you go, okay. Wow, that was gay.
I think we need to
Before we
move on. No, before we move on, I think we need to do a moment of silence for Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon.
Okay, were you serious about that?
What?
I was just staring at you, like, seriously?
So are you ready to move on, man?
Yes. All right. So everybody, SEC
basketball tournament. Yep.
Okay. So last week we made our picks. Stingray picked Arkansas. I picked Tennessee. I came out the winner. And ladies and gentlemen, I was right again.
Whoa.
Hold on. You can't. Why do you keep interrupting me?
You picked Kentucky, bro.
I did not pick Kentucky. I picked Tennessee. Look, Tennessee tops Texas A&M to win the first men's basketball SEC tournament title in 43 years. It's stated on ESPN. Last week I picked Tennessee. Stingray, I think you picked Auburn. Was it Arkansas or Auburn? I don't know. Mississippi State.
I picked Arkansas, but
so you was wrong.
Tennessee.
So everybody that listened to me saw that I was right, and you won money, I guess. So.
Bullshit.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All you got to do is listen to me.
Spencer, are you
Spencer's
there?
Spencer's not here.
Yes, he is in the comments. Who did Joey pick last week?
He turned this crap off a long time ago.
Bro, you picked Kentucky.
I did not pick Kentucky. I picked Tennessee.
Dude.
You can't look. I tell you what. You may have heard me wrong, and usually you do. And really, quite frankly, it's nothing really you can do about it. So why don't you just chill the heck out? I picked Tennessee. And I said I picked Tennessee. I picked Tennessee. So
Joey, I was actually planning on you actually doing this because you love to do that a lot. You love to actually say you picked the winner after the winner happens.
No, no, I never did that ever. You can't even prove that. But the problem is you hate being wrong. You don't got. What are you doing?
Have proof, bro.
What are you doing, Sting? What are you doing?
Here it is.
What is this?
The only thing I'm going to be excited about is Oscar Sheway. Speaking of Oscar Sheway, I always wonder, do I ever say his name right? Is it Oscar Sheway?
Sheway. Mm-hmm. You are correct.
Now that's a bad mamma jamma.
What are you
people
doing?
Don't know the history of Oscar Sheway. He came from West Virginia, now plays at Kentucky. He's 6'9", 255 pounds of just nothing but force. And right now, Stingray, what we're going to do before we head out, we're going to pick who's going to win the SEC. Now, I already know who you're going to pick because
I picked Tennessee.
You're just that type of person. So go
Who do you
ahead.
think?
Is it?
Who do you
Go
think?
ahead and say Mississippi State or I know you're gonna say Mississippi State or Auburn.
See,
So
No, I'm not.
I pick.
I'm actually not. I'm going with the Hogs of Arkansas. I think they are one of the hottest teams in late February and March, and I do feel like also that Texas A&M could make a deep run.
Okay,
but
you was
they've got
wrong.
to get past Auburn as well.
I got Kentucky.
Okay.
This Oscar Sheway. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's averaging what 15 rebounds, 14, 15 rebounds a game, 17 points a game. This guy is a beast.
Boom, man! I told you.
You just all I said was Oscar Sheway was a beast. That's all I heard.
No, you actually picked Kentucky, man.
Did I say that I picked Kentucky?
Yes, you said I
didn't hear
Kentucky.
I heard. I was talking about Oscar Sheway. I don't know what you're talking about. You audio edit that. I don't know what you're talking about,
bro. You know who you sound like?
I don't believe you.
Your wife. You sound like your wife.
How do you know what my wife sounds like?
I have my ways, bro.
Oh hell no!
I talk to her all the time, man, and all she does is complain about all the crap that you do, especially about what a tightwad you are about those cheap ass blinds behind you.
You keep campaigning for this ass whooping, you're gonna get elected. Let's move on. What the hell? Clemson, no more talking to Clemson Tom. No more talking to Clemson Tom. Your days of talking to Clemson Tom is over with. So,
hey, by the way, let me just go ahead and say this last thing. Do you really want to know why Clemson Tom is having to take a break until football again? He got fed up with all your asinine, idiotic picks like that.
I don't believe you. Clemson Tom loves me.
I'm going to call him right now. I can actually call him.
No, he's busy. Why don't you get to the interview?
Okay. So,
Jesus loves me.
Dude, I have spoke my piece.
Okay. You know what? You audio edited a video that I don't even remember recording. So, like I said, I picked Tennessee.
Hey, man, pass me some of that stuff that you're on.
All right. Let's talk about the Stingray Show.
Okay.
So tell everybody what's up.
Okay. So last week we had the radio celebrity Doug Gottlieb on from Fox Sports, and Doug Gottlieb was nice enough to give us about 25 to 30 minutes of content that we actually used on the Stingray Show on the radio on Saturday. And so this was a really, really awesome interview because we talked about Alabama and we talked about Mississippi State. Now, here is an interesting fact, Joey. You know, Doug Gottlieb got kicked out of Notre Dame because of a credit card issue that he took from one of his teammates. And he almost transferred into Alabama before Mark Godfrey got to the capstone. So Mark Godfrey actually was really close to bringing Doug Gottlieb to Tuscaloosa, and he talks about that during the interview as well. So without further ado, here is the Stingray Show's interview with Doug Gottlieb right here on CTS. Heath, let's go on ahead on that note and introduce our guests today. I'm going to allow you to introduce the guest today.
Well, he steals the show wherever he goes. He's phenomenal. He knows the game of college basketball, and I'm excited to talk to him. So here on 100.9, let's welcome Doug Gottlieb. Doug, how are you tonight?
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Doing
We're
good,
doing
man.
great.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
Doug, I got a personal question before we get going. Growing up, has basketball always been your sport?
Well, my dad was a high school, became college coach, became a U coach. So yeah, it's kind of the family business. But I mean, I played football growing up, baseball growing up. It was basically all those three sports. A little tennis for like 2 years in middle school. My last tennis match, I got to the finals of this like satellite tournament. I played against an open player. Like open players like the real deal.
Right.
And I thought I was getting pretty good. And I got beat like 6-love, 6-love. And I remember walking my dad. And I was like, started when I was like 12. Like, this ain't it. And at the time, I hadn't really grown in basketball. So, I mean, anybody would have said basketball wasn't it either. But,
Right.
but yes, basketball is, my brother's been an assistant coach for 26 years now. So, yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Well,
Hey, Doug, last personal question before we dive into college basketball. Who was your first favorite basketball player?
First, well, when
Yeah,
I was really little, my dad was head coach at UW Milwaukee, and he had a guy named Kirk Tajin. And I don't know why, but Kirk was my guy, and that's one of the reasons I wore 44 was Kirk Tajin. And then when I moved to California, while we were six, I was 6. I watched a lot of Big Monday, and I loved like Sherman Douglas.
right.
There was a point guard at Ohio State named Jay Burson, who I fell in love with his game. And then ultimately my idol was Bobby Hurley.
Oh, yeah.
White point guard, and wins back-to-back national titles, all-time assist leader, and a coach's son to boot. So if I had to give true serum, Bobby Hurley was my first true idol.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
Doug, really quick, right here, since we're in Tuscaloosa broadcasting, I read a report where after you transferred from Notre Dame, you thought about transferring to the University of Alabama to play basketball. How close were you ultimately to coming to Tuscaloosa?
Pretty close. Dave Hobbs was the head coach, and Bob Marlin was the assistant that recruited me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left, I played for my dad in a junior college event in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And Hobbs and Marlin were there, and they offered me, and they wanted me to come and sit out there, and I didn't want to sit out anywhere. I wanted to wait and see what happened with the landscape, because back then, if your coach left, you couldn't like leave and get to play right away. So I visited during football season, but it was before obviously Coach Saban had gotten there. So this was in the fall of 1996.
Right.
And they played Ole Miss, and they hooked me up a little bit. So my host was actually Steve Prohm, who was a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And they took me out in 5 points when I landed, and I had a great time. And then when I got to campus, the Jewish fraternity, the Sammys, threw a party for me. And I had a great time. And but what happened was two things. Brian Williams was the point guard,
Mm-hmm.
and he and I were both in the class of 95. And we were kind of like, he was like the best point guard in the South. And he was not exactly energetic about the idea of moving over to the 2-guard spot.
Right.
And so I kind of got the cold shoulder on my visit a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had heard rumors that Coach Hobbs was in a little bit of trouble, and he was just an incredibly nice man. And when I got home, Mark Godfrey called me. Now, keep in mind, I've known Mark forever. And my sister was a cheerleader at UCLA. My sister actually babysat Mark's kids when she was a student in college. So it's not like a coach calls you out of the blue. So he's the head coach at Murray State at the time. And he's like, how'd you like my school? And I said, I loved it. It was great. I was like, I'm a little concerned. I went to a football school first. About going to football school, he's like, we'll turn it back into a basketball school. And I was like, yeah, you come there, you play for me. And I was like, and he was kind of like joking. But then, the more I talked to people, like, man, Coach Hobbs, you don't want to commit there because he might get fired. And then by the time I did commit to Oklahoma State, he did get fired, and Mark was the coach. And, Mark still tried to get me. And he was like, I told you we're going to change it to a basketball school. So I came close. I just It just wasn't the perfect fit for me, and Oklahoma State was, but I loved it. And I was in town for the Auburn game this year on radio, and I actually came to football when I was working with CBS. I went and just hung out for one weekend with some buddies in T-Town. So it's a great place. And when they redo Stedman, it's gonna be what's the arena?
Coleman.
Stedman's at Georgia. When they redo Coleman, I think if they drop the floor, it'll be great. Like everything will be right on top. But I did not pull the trigger. It was close. It was top 3 or 4.
Right.
Wow. Doug, I'm here right outside Memphis, Tennessee. And Memphis is a different place in March, especially if the Tigers are in the tournament. Penny Hardaway, of course, is a local legend here. But Penny has made mention, and I want you to elaborate on it, that a lot of coaches don't like former NBA players coming in and coaching college basketball. Is there any truth to that? And if there is, how do you feel about it?
I don't know if look, NBA coaches, I think, are a little different than former NBA players. It's the idea that I think a lot of NBA guys have always looked down on college basketball coaches and on the whole college system. And I think that's where it comes from. Penny's a little bit of a different cat, though, because he went and coached high school.
Right.
Like, he's done some of the grind. He gets it. It's different. And I also think, he's tried to put together a staff that have helped him with the things that he does now. I mean, he's done as good a job as anybody. Like, real coaching is what he's done. That thing was a mess. And, he made some hard calls, some hard decisions. I'll go with it. The Imani Bates thing, I'm sure there's some hard discussions had there. I don't know if that was all Imani and his dad's choice to pull the plug on that thing. But, hell, they turned it around. That's big-time stuff. So, I don't know. I think every person coaches a story unto themselves,
Right.
Like Chris Mullen knew a ton about basketball, was engaged, but he let somebody else kind of coach the team during the games, and he just kind of laid back and was very quiet. There have been other coaches that have been NBA guys. I mean, I think Jerry Stackhouse is a little bit overwhelmed early on all the other stuff you have to manage outside of just coaching ball. And I think that's looked at like tedious. But I don't think that Penny views it that way. I think he wants to coach. He wants his school to be great. And I don't care if you've been in the NBA or you've been in the high school, whatever. If you're all about it, you go get players. Who can fault you? So I do know there's a bit of a pushback against NBA guys who are come back to their alma maters, arrogantly thinking they just show up and kids show up and they just roll out and play. It's a lot more. There's a lot more than that, but I don't know if it's all NBA guys in general.
Talking about head coaching and college basketball, the SEC, there's a couple of schools making some changes. The SEC is actually starting to spend some money in college basketball. I think something that's way overdue for the SEC. With that being said, we'll take Ben Howland at Mississippi State. A legendary career. It didn't completely work and start full for him. But if a team like Mississippi State, a school like Mississippi State, who might be on the verge of spending some big-time money, what would be a great fit? Do they go out and get an old established coach? I mean, it looks great what Auburn's done. I mean, they went out and got Bruce Pearl. It's clearly working out, a great return of investment. But schools like Georgia and Mississippi State are, if those positions are coming open, do they go out and get an established guy? Because I think the young and up-and-coming thing, this may not be the right situation, especially if you're trying to gain respect on a national level and you want to get a great return of investment. I think you go out and spend the money. What would you do if you're AD, Doug?
That's a hard one because I don't think all things are equal, right? I do think one of the things going for Mississippi State is that Ole Miss and Kermit haven't figured it out, right?
Right.
And the old days of like, hey, go get a coach and buy some players. Like, well, now you can, but everybody can. When cheating's legal, it's not cheating, but also means everybody can do it.
Right.
So, look, can you build a fence in state and get enough people? I don't know. Can you go the JUCO route? Right? With Dante Jones of the world?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I just think you get a really good ball coach who, in order to do it now, especially Mississippi State, it's no different. Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, all these schools. You got to get somebody, one, who they don't necessarily themselves, but you better get a staff that can really recruit. And by really recruit, it doesn't mean line up and try and go get a top 50 kid, right? You're going to have to do some transfer portal. You're going to have to get a JUCO or two. You might have to get a foreign kid or two. And then you got to try to get the best kid in the state. And maybe you get the best kid, a couple kids in the state that are bounce backs, that went somewhere else, that weren't happy, that didn't play much. So I just think go get a good ball coach. The Ben Howland thing, again, I've known Ben pretty much my entire life. I think he's a very, very good coach. That was always a weird fit.
Yeah.
The Rick Ray thing was a weird hire.
Very.
Rick Stansbury. If there was a Rick Stansbury today, not Rick Stansbury now at West Kentucky, but if there was that type of guy who knew how to get things done,
right?
That'd be a guy I'd look at, like a Steve Forbes before he was at Wake. I don't think you leave Wake for Mississippi State. No disrespect Mississippi State, but that's not a step up job wise, even if you step up financially. But I think you need somebody who understands there's got to be a build, and then you got to build several different ways. You got to get some 4 and 5 year kids. You got to get some transfer portal kids, but the portal thing is hard, right? So it's like, how do you do the transfer portal? To me, the transfer portal, you have to work in. Don't take guys you don't already know. Like all these guys that get in trouble with kids on transfer portal, what they're doing is they're taking players that they don't have a deep knowledge of. And so he shows up on campus and you don't really know how good he is, and you don't know his work habits, and there's a reason he left his last place. So, one of the reasons some of these coaches get hired as assistant coaches is it's not that they're always bringing a player, it's that they have deep relationships with players, their coaches, their AU coaches, their handlers, whatever. So they know not to, you can get away with 1 turd on your team. You get 2, it's over. You start running 2 or 3 kids off mid-year who just showed up, it's bad. So I don't know, to answer I know it feels like a non-answer. I don't think there's a Bruce Pearl out there.
Right.
Bruce is a unique, one-of-a-kind guy. I also don't think Mississippi State is Auburn. I think they're very, very different. I do think you can win there and be competitive in this SEC. But I think it's going to take a unique guy. It's going to take buy-in. It's going to take time. But that's, you look throughout the Southeast and you want to have somebody who has deep ties in areas in which you want to recruit. And right now, obviously Bruce has done a great job in Atlanta. You got to be big in Atlanta. You got to be big in Houston. I think you got to be big in Birmingham. You got to be big in Florida. Florida's, you might take a look at Grant McCaslin in North Texas. And I don't know if you guys know this. There's 6 McDonald's All-Americans for the Metroplex. 6.
Wow.
So, there's a guy comes from Baylor, and they had to be inventive recruiters. Find guys that other people miss on. Evaluate players that are better than whatever their ranking number is, and then grow it and mature it. But I think that's a Grant McCaslin type. Doesn't have to be Grant, but there's the type of guy that, he's making less than $1 million at North Texas, or maybe making $1 million in North Texas. You pay him 2.5 and say, hey, we're going to give you some time. Let's put together a big-time staff, and let's go get it done.
Well, very quickly, we're going to take a super short break. When we come back, Doug Gottlieb is with us. We're here on the national stage talking about college basketball here in March. We'll be back with more madness right after this. And we're back here on 100.9 The Tide here in Tuscaloosa. Doug Gottlieb's our guest right now. Doug, we were talking about hiring and coaches and things like that. Take Alabama, for example, last season, great beyond the three-point arc with a three-point shot, great percentage. This year, not so much. We were talking about Mississippi State and how things aren't working out. If you listen to the folks in Starkville, they're talking about they just want a faster pace, a more exciting pace of play in basketball. We're talking about coaching hires. Who would be a great hire it's going to bring in, I don't want to say instant offense, but a fun offense, a fun team to watch? Who are some coaches out there?
Well, there's a couple of things to it. One, I love the idea of playing fast. First, I do think it's missing. It's missing because of that. One thing, though, is we're going to play fast is like the football translation is we're going to be aggressive defensively, right? Every new defensive coordinator that's ever been hired in college football is going to be more aggressive than the previous defensive coordinator. If that were true, that were true, then what would happen? By now, everyone would blitz on every down and just cover zero every time. So no matter who you hire, they are going to say, "I'm gonna play fast." I'm gonna play fast, right? But I do like. So what you have to do is you have to go and I'll never forget when Kevin O'Neill was at Tennessee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Lawrence Frank was his assistant, and they were recruiting him, and it was in their first year. And they were like, "We're gonna play fast." Nobody plays fast in the SEC. Got all these athletes going to get up and down. And I turned on the game. They're playing Kentucky, and they're holding the ball, and they had 12 points of that. And the point was, like, and I understand, like, look, to beat those Kentucky teams, you can't play fast. It's slow death.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it's needed. I think there's room in college basketball to speed up the tempo, to get this thing going. I like the way Oral Roberts plays, Paul Mills. I think that dog will hunt in terms of pace of play, spreading you out. I think, I don't know if he would do it, if it's a perfect fit, but he coached at Furman. He's at Colorado State. At Colorado State, they play really fast and really open, and they get up and down and they press some. Not like 100 miles an hour, but definitely an enjoyable offensive style. I would say like those two jump out at me in terms of stylistically. But again, whoever you get, they're all going to say we play fast. You got to go back and watch them coach, and then he's got to get the personnel for it too. But you mentioned shooting, like everybody wants to shoot threes, but you got to get makers, not just takers. Not just takers.
That's right. Doug,
All right.
Looking back at this college basketball season, what's the one thing that college basketball as a whole can kind of hang their hat on moving forward into the tournament? But what's the one thing that college basketball has kind of pushed itself forward coming out of this?
I think the home crowds are outstanding. And I really think, you look at Auburn's an example, right? And that place.
Absolutely.
The zoo has been a zoo, but they're not alone. And I think that people are itching to get out there and cheer for whatever their sports team is. Like, I think college baseball is going to have a great year. Same thing. Like, people want to get out and cheer for their teams.
Yes.
And now with the mask mandates going away as well, I think college basketball has reestablished itself as the cool, fun event to go to. Right? College football has always kind of had that, but the atmospheres don't affect the game as much as it feels like it affects college basketball. So yeah, and then I think, in all honesty, like, look, I wasn't an NIL deal guy just because I knew what's happened, what ultimately happened, which is buying players. I don't mind guys getting something for a great achievement or stay in school, but the idea of a guy who hasn't played yet getting a big deal, like, I'm not. That's just buying players. I'm not for that. Anyway, but the NIL combined with the COVID extra year, and we have guys that have been in school for a long time, but the quality of basketball is better, and they're bigger, stronger athletes, and some of these young kids are struggling, and it'll cause the whole thing will cause more guys to stay in school, and the product will be better because of it.
Yes. Well, Doug, you obviously cover a lot of college basketball. Last season, going into the tournament, UCLA barely made the tournament, but got on a run and made it to the Final Four. Can you give us a couple of teams, in your opinion, that could catch fire at the right time and make a deep run in this tournament?
Sure. I think Ohio State's that team in the Big Ten. They've been struggling as of late. They got a star freshman who's outstanding. Their quality interior play, good coach. Look, they're struggling, but there's UCLA did down the stretch as well. I think Ohio State would be that team in the Big Ten. I think you watch North Carolina and their evolution a little bit. North Carolina, it took last weekend to solidify them in the NCAA tournament. And again, you're like, North Carolina, they're a blue blood. So is UCLA, right?
Yes.
So I think those two are two that really, really jump out at me. And then, I saw St. Mary's last night. Now, I don't know what St. Mary's their seed will be. I think they belong on like the 5 or 6 line, but they're also St. Mary's, and they look like a 10 seed when they walk into a gym.
Oh, yeah.
So St. Mary's is one where you could see them as a 8 or 9 seed, but being a tough out for the wrong 1 seed. But those would be the kind of 3 of the ones that jump out. The last one would be Texas. Texas is a team, Chris Beard, he's obviously coached in a Final Four. He won at EULA, at Arkansas Little Rock. And I don't love the Texas team, but I think he's gone through different lineups and tried to figure out what he has. And I think he's discovered the fact that, he were left players that fit in the Shaka Smart system. And so they're a better pressing team than I think people thought he thought they would be. Right. And that's not a way he traditionally coaches. So they got a couple styles they can play. Like Texas is kind of sneaky decent here. Whereas like Texas Tech, it's got a really old roster. They get a really good seed, but man, they just can't score. And that scares the hell out of me. Whereas I think Texas might actually have more tournament upside.
And my last question.
Sorry, Stephen. Doug, I was going to ask you. The one thing I've heard, and I agree with this statement, you want idiots on the selection committee. You want them to get it wrong because that leads to a great march. It leads to madness. With that being said, with the buffoonery on the board, we need to have, and I'm not making light of anybody. Do we think we need to have some idiots in the room making the selection because that leads to a better tournament, or get it right? Because I always think that leads to boring tournaments.
Well, I don't think that the a team winning who's a higher seed affirms that they got it right. The idiot test to me is like if Kansas is a 1 seed ahead of Kentucky, then I don't really know what to do there because by the numbers Kansas should be, but right. I was there. Called the game.
Yes.
It wasn't close. And the math is designed, okay? All the different formulas are designed to tell you if they played what it would look like. Right? That's what it's for. It's like if St. Mary's played North Carolina, who would win who's a more deserving team to get into the tournament? Great. Mm-hmm. Because those are two teams you can't compare. Kentucky and Kansas you actually can compare. And it wasn't like they played each other in November, played each other in February at Kansas. And the game wasn't competitive. It was over right after the jump ball. So do you need idiots? I think you need people that understand basketball. It's really hard this year because you had some COVID shutdown still, a lot of guys missing. And then you have a lot of these new teams. And new teams oftentimes, take a little bit longer to form and become whole. Kentucky's the example. I think early in the year, they were a collection of a bunch of pieces from other places. Middle of the year, they were awesome. And then late in the year, they've been banged up. I personally think, and it's not just I'm talking to you guys, I think the SEC is going to have a great tournament. I think the top of the SEC is the best league in the country. And I think that, Alabama beating Gonzaga wasn't a fluke. And you're like, well, how did Alabama lose to Georgia, lose to Missouri? It's conference play, there's college kids. But you can, if you watch, like they got some dudes there, and as Davidson evolved and improved as a freshman, they got better as well. So I don't know if I just think you need people that understand college basketball and this season in particular. And honestly, it doesn't really matter we're going to have great games regardless.
Yes.
And when we've had great years with crazy finishes, it isn't because they're idiots. And when we had like 1 year where there weren't a lot of upsets. It wasn't because they were geniuses. It just it was an outlier year, to be honest with you.
All right, Doug, my final question for you is this, and I'm going to make it quick. Please give us your final four in the big dance, and is this the year that Gonzaga finally wins it all in March?
No. Just saw them last night. I did the game for radio. Like them, don't love them. Auburn, Kentucky, Purdue, and Arizona.
Wow.
Wow.
And who do you have winning it all, sir?
Kentucky.
Okay.
Wow.
That's impressive. All right, Doug. Well, we really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. And is there anything you would like to give a shout out to? Feel free to.
A shout out to. Well, I'll tell you, I have a podcast. It's called All Ball. And it's just long form interviews with people that I'm interested in their story. My latest one is with Steve Wojciechowski, Wojo, the former Duke point guard. And it's a three-parter. Part two, he actually kind of broke down, was crying about, on the podcast, about after his freshman year at Duke. And if you remember, his freshman year at Duke, they won 2 games in the ACC. That was Coach K missed the season, missed most of the season because of a back issue and health issue.
Right.
And he missed a shot that could have beaten North Carolina. And he got back to his dorm room, and he was just emotionally too much for him. So he called his dad, who was a longshoreman, and he said, he actually called his mom, and he told her, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play basketball anymore. I just want to go to college. And his dad got on the phone and said, hey, listen, man, no problem. You want to come home? Cool. But you're not going to another school. You're going to come with me. So get back after it or come down and work at the docks. And he was really emotional, thinking, like, all the things he had accomplished in life, had he given up because it was hard, wouldn't have been possible. So it's pretty cool. It's called All Ball, and you can download it wherever you download podcasts. There's my shout out.
Well, Doug, look, man, we really want to thank you, and hopefully, sir, we can do it again at a later date.
Anytime, Stingray. Heath, good to catch up with you, guys.
Thank you.
Be good, Doug. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to keep you up there. All right, don't ever get on to me about interrupting you ever again.
Yes.
I mean, damn. How is he doing, by the way?
Good. Doing good, man. Really, really enjoying the Stingray Show, being on the radio. That's all he pretty much talks about now.
I got to say this. If you're not listening to the Stingray Show, what are you doing on Thursday nights and Saturdays? I mean, he has the top guests. He actually is the #1 show right now on Tide 100, hands down. I mean, they really are loving the Stingray Show in Tuscaloosa and that part of Alabama. And I think if you don't listen to it, you're an idiot. And if you don't have access to Tide 100, you should. You should go ahead and download the app on your phone like I do and listen to the Stingray Show every Thursday and every Saturday. At what time, Sting?
9 o'clock Central on Thursday evenings, and then on Saturday from 11 to 1 on that Central Time. And for
daytime or nighttime?
In the daytime.
I know, but you know, Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central.
Yeah, Thursday night. Yeah, and that's what I said. Yes.
You sure that's what you said?
I'm sure.
Because I remember when I said Tennessee, you didn't say that.
So anyway, are you ready to hear about who we have on for tomorrow? I mean, on Thursday.
Thursday, we already discussed that.
No, I'm talking about on the Stingray Show, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, sure. Who we got?
All right. On Thursday night, we are doing an interview with the legendary Tim Brando. And then on Saturday, we are going to get an update from Mark Schleybaugh about the Georgia basketball coaching situation after they fired Tom Crean and then turned around and hired Florida's current head coach. That's going to be for an interesting rivalry now between Georgia and Florida on the hardwood. So we're going to dive all into that on Saturday with Mark Schleybaugh and Tim Brando on Thursday night on Tide 100.9.
Okay, so Stingray Show, check it out, Tide 100. If you need to know how to listen to it, I will say it one more time. Listen to it on Tide 100.9 or download the app on your tablet, phone, computer, whatever.
Yes.
Listen to the Stingray Show every Thursday, every Saturday, please, because Stingray wants to be famous again.
Absolutely. All right, Joey. So I've got one final question for you this evening. The NCAA basketball tournament actually starts tonight with the 2 play-in games. Then Alabama finds out their opponent tomorrow night. And then on Thursday, the madness begins. Yes. Are you going to let us know who your Final Fours are and who your national champion is.
Yes.
Okay,
Actually,
cool.
I didn't totally disagree with Doug.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick Auburn. I think Auburn is overrated.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the football team or my hatred for the football team whatsoever. Just watching them, I just knowing what I know about basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't think they're really that good. I think they're going to be kicked out in the early round.
Yeah.
And people are going. That's not a, as Paul Heyman says, since we was talking about wrestling earlier. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. All right. So let it be known, Auburn's going to be kicked out very early. How early? Pretty early. So with that said, my Final Four, just like I picked it in the SEC tournament when I said Tennessee was going to win it all. I'm picking the Final Four. Go ahead and call your bookies right now and go ahead and put down your house, your mortgage, because this is the Final Four. Gonzaga, Wisconsin, Kansas, and Kentucky.
Wow, dude.
Kentucky.
All right, so
I said Kentucky.
Those four.
I said Kentucky.
Okay. Who wins the national championship? Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Okay. All right.
I was
My
just kidding.
final.
I said Kentucky.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I said Kentucky.
Okay.
Or Gonzaga, or Wisconsin, or Kansas. One of those four. I picked one of those four to win the national championship. Definitely Kentucky, Gonzaga, Wisconsin, or Kansas. Definitely one of those four.
Okay.
But not Auburn.
Okay. My final four is going to be
Kentucky.
My final four is going to be Gonzaga.
I said that. Now you copying.
No, Give me a second because I've got this pulled up right here. I've already forgotten.
Oh, final two. Then another beats Gonzaga. I don't know about that. As I said, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Wisconsin, Kansas. Oh, by the way, while Stingray's looking up his picks,
okay.
Matt Caddell and
Erwin Dudley.
Dudley. Is it Dudley or Dudley?
Dudley.
I knew that. I was just testing you. Erwin Dudley is coming by the Rolling with the Tide show this Thursday. CTS Network, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe, like us, and we're going to have a special guest host, ladies and gentlemen. You saw him before, and you're going to see him again. The one and only Touchdown Alabama Magazine chat president, Waylon, is coming. Right, Copeland, I believe his name is Copeland.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's the Touchdown Alabama Magazine chat president, ladies and gentlemen. He's coming to us live Thursday to talk to Matt Caddell and Ernest Dudley.
Erwin Dudley, bro.
I changed his name to Ernest.
Okay.
Can we get off Final Four so we can go home so I can stop saying names wrong?
Gonzaga and Purdue.
Okay, you copying Doug.
And then Arizona.
And
Kentucky.
That's
my national champion.
Whoa, time out. That's so not what I said. I said Kentucky, Gonzaga, Wisconsin, Kansas. That's
those
the
are mine.
But you're wrong.
And I'm going to go with Arizona winning it all. And one more final thing I do want to mention for all of the Alabama listeners out there. I've actually got Alabama going all the way until playing on Sunday when they match up against Texas Tech, and I've got Texas Tech moving on to the Sweet 16. So I do think Alabama wins one game in the tournament, and that's saying a lot based on them winning or losing to Vanderbilt. But I do believe they will have a good matchup with either Rutgers or Notre Dame. So I'm going Alabama makes it to the round of 32, but gets bounced out by the Red Raiders of Texas Tech.
Wow. Alabama basketball fans are looking at you right now like psycho. You really know how to appease the Alabama fans.
No, I just think that Alabama has a good matchup there with the 5-11 matchup.
It's Spencer. Somebody needs Spencer. They call him Spencer to help you. But I got Kentucky, Gonzaga, Wisconsin, Kansas, and I believe Kentucky, Gonzaga, Wisconsin, and Kansas will win the championship. One of those four. I can't pick a winner. I really can't, because those four have the best lineups, best matchups. I just don't see them losing in the tournament.
Right.
But you got Purdue, you got Arizona, I got Kansas and Wisconsin. So Spencer got Alabama, and Waylon has, who you will see Thursday, has probably
Alabama too.
Probably Alabama. Probably. He said Alabama's going to go further than Kentucky. So Stingray, ladies and gentlemen, this was a production of the CTS Sports Room. You feel like a champion, please subscribe. You like the content. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube page. I don't know how many times I got to ask you. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Stingray, give me 1 second. Let me holler at the CTS fans and people. Please subscribe. Look, it doesn't hurt you to subscribe. You subscribe right now, our angel will get his wings, and Skull Hall needs his wings. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stingray, go ahead.
Because you were giving me so much crap about you picked Tennessee, which you honestly did not. I'm going to sign off with this rebuttal. Hulk Hogan sucks.
I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to kick your ass. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Stingray. I'm Joey, and we are out.
Hulkamania sucks.
I'm going to kick your ass in a minute. Yep.